Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a very exciting video. It's actually funny because I have filmed this already once. I filmed this once, but then I changed the way that I was filming this vlog because it turned into like vlog slash spoiler review. So I wanted to intro it very quickly because the whole video at the beginning, the first 20 minutes, the vlog, and I talk about the things that I like and don't like about the book, that's completely spoiler free. So that is completely spoiler free. Anybody can watch it. And then I tacked on like 30 plus minutes of a full spoiler plot recap at the very end. So yeah, I don't know what happened. I feel like I blacked out at the end and I was like, what just happened? I actually talked for like 2 hours and I had the half an hour is what's cut down. But anyway, now with that said, we are going to be reading The Fourth Wing. I keep calling it The Fourth Wing, but it's actually just Fourth Wing. But I feel like when I intro a book, I say the and then the book. So it's pretty much just gonna be called The Fourth Wing from now on. But yeah, as everyone knows, this is the pretty romantic-y dragon rider school book that everybody is talking about. I have never seen a book hyped this much since I've been watching Booktube. And I've been watching Booktube for a while. Like I've been on Booktube for only about a year, but I've been watching it for much longer. So I actually wasn't gonna read this because I never read books that are super hyped at the time that they're hyped. I normally wait 1 or 2 years, but I gotta do it. I gotta do it, especially after I found out that all the copies are gone. Like you literally can't get a copy of this right now. So I am really excited to read this and see if it is worth the hype. Obviously I've already read it because you guys know what I'm doing with this video, but yeah, we're gonna get right into this. So like I said, first part of the video is just a regular vlog, so anybody can watch it. So go ahead and watch that. I will put up multiple warnings when the spoiler starts, but it's really not until the actual full review is done. So I hope you enjoy my reading experience with this. Okay, you might hear a fan, but I just really wanted to very quickly give my initial thoughts after reading the first chapter, which actually was pretty long compared to what I thought it was going to be. But overall thoughts immediately, it's fine. I like the idea behind it. I like this whole already we're going right into challenges. I like that our main character is reluctant to do this kind of thing. I feel like it's been a while since I read something where the main character is like not really the chosen type kind of thing. I'm sure she will be eventually, but right now she's not a big deal. She does not want to be doing this. She doesn't want to be a part of the dragons. She doesn't want to be doing this. So I like that. I like that. I think it's different than what I've been reading lately. I think the author is trying a little bit too hard to already make this a romantasy because she's literally in danger and she immediately starts talking about how hot this guy is. And we immediately meet the person who her sister said is going to kill her. So it's kind of like shoving us into that already, and I don't love that. I think that's poorly planned out writing. I would rather us have seen them in a couple chapters and then it be like the tension has built up. Instead there's really no tension because it happened immediately. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that because we already have also been mentioned, like another character has been mentioned as well who seems like someone she might be interested in. So I don't know exactly where this is going in the romantic sense. I definitely feel like it's got to be enemies to lovers, but I don't know. But overall the writing isn't bad. It's definitely better than mediocre. I just don't like it's very descriptive, it's nice, it's flowing very nicely, it's not very disjointed. The only part was that kind of like forced, like, oh, he's really, really hot thing. I didn't like immediately being introduced into that during a dangerous point in the book. So that's kind of my initial thoughts, which is, I would say, a win, because I was worried I was going to immediately hate it and just be like, I hate it because everybody else likes it. But that is not the case, so I am curious where it's going to go from here and what we're gonna do with the romance in the book. Okay, it is pretty early in the morning, so I'm looking a bit rough because I also stayed up pretty late reading this book. Yeah, I am 205 pages into this book, and I don't know how to explain this. I don't know how to explain like my opinion on this book because I definitely have some opinions. Okay. So it's hard to explain without any type of spoilers, but I don't want to do any spoilers because I know a ton of people haven't read this yet and they kind of just want to know if it's worth it, especially because you can't buy a copy anymore. Like, people are like right now on sites like, hey, do you guys have copies of this? I can't find any copies of this. So it's very interesting that they have sold out of all the copies, it seems. So let's start off at the beginning. I I did talk about it a little bit, but this is going to be kind of like the halfway mark update because I'm probably just going to finish it in the next couple hours this morning because I am enjoying it. Okay, let's get that out of the way. I am addicted to this book. Okay? Okay. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a 5 stars. However, there is a caveat to that because I don't actually think it's a very well-written book. Or like, I don't even want to say that. This is why it's so hard. Okay, let's go through it very quickly. The romance was much too shoved in your face at the very beginning. So this book is very obviously almost like a rewrite fan fiction of Akamath. Okay, it is it is very obvious that this author very much loves Akatar, very much hated Tamlin, and very much liked the other character. Because I can't even spoil Akatar, so now I'm like, oh my gosh. But one of the characters is Tamlin remade from the beginning of Akamath all over again, and the other character is you know who it is. It's the uncanniness. The uncanniness with the way that these characters are so like the other characters. It's very obvious where the author's allegiances lie in regards to the romance. I think there's like you feel a hint of something for the Tamlin-like character, but he becomes annoying so quickly. Like so quickly that you're just like, oh man, this is what she's doing. This is what she's doing. So I will say that was a little bit annoying at the beginning because it's a this is a young adult fantasy book, okay? The characters, I want to say they're supposed to be older. I feel like someone said 25. I don't remember if that was said in here or not. That was not important to me at the time. They act and they speak like they're about 17, 18, so older young adult. It's that weird middle gray ground that I've talked about in a couple videos where young adult, it's a young adult book, but the characters are 17, 18, so it does read a bit older compared to like a traditional young adult book. But it's also too young feeling to, in my like opinion, to be considered an adult book. However, it's very obvious this author wanted to jump on the romantasy train and did not want to make this a young adult book. So she made the main character like weirdly sexual at the beginning. It is so unnecessary at the beginning. This is why I have such a hard time with romantasy books and why I'm like I had a really hard time with the first probably 70 pages of the book. Like I liked the plot and I liked what was going on, but her cringy comments about the guys in this book, oh my gosh, I was about to be like, this is gonna be a 2. If this continues, it's gonna be a 2, because she's actually like trying to survive at one point, and she goes, this is the hottest man I've ever seen. He's beautiful. And I'm just like, damn it. It's just so unnecessary. Like, the way he's described, it's very obvious he's very pretty, and he's going to be our main character. We can wait some to talk about how pretty he is when you're not actively trying not to die. So that kills me. And every time it's still brought up every time. It doesn't bug me as much because now we're 200 pages in and I feel like I know the characters more. So this is where I would start expecting her to start having feelings, to start being more like, oh my god, I'm nervous around him, etc. Like it was a bit insta at the beginning. Like she still had feelings for somebody else, but it was a bit insta at the beginning with one of the romances. So that was probably my biggest qualm with this, was the immediate obsession with the new guy that she didn't know, and the only way she knew him was that he wanted to kill her. So I'm like, I think you've got more important things to think about because you're going into a school where only like a quarter of the people survive to graduation. So like, why are you thinking about the hot guy who wants to kill you? So that's where my biggest qualm at the beginning of this book was. But then, oh, it was saved. It was saved because the plot got so flippin' cool. The dragons are so cool. Oh my gosh, the trials, her having to go through all these like gauntlet things, and the actual dragons part just finally happened. So cool. But overall, the brutality is really good. And the action sequences are pretty great too. I really like the fighting scenes. I think some of the plot lines are clever. So right now I'm enjoying the hell out of this book. I wasn't expecting that, but I think it's because the romance is kind of like, it's backed off. It's backed off to where she's focused on what's important. So, because I am more of a slow burn. Like, I don't like when stuff is so instant like it seems. It really does feel like we skipped a first book, like an ACOTAR-esque book. It feels like we skipped a prequel, and then we jumped right into ACOMAF because she didn't want to deal with the romance and stuff that happens in ACOTAR. So I wouldn't be surprised if the author comes out with a prequel, and I think a prequel would make this like 2 books so far significantly better, at least at the beginning of it. And I just, yeah, I am enjoying it a lot, and I get it. It's addicting. It is so addicting because it's every trope. It's every trope people like. It's like, oh my god, enemies to lovers, but there's also like an initial like friends to lovers kind of thing going on. There's definitely going to be like a one bed trope. 100%. Like there's gotta be with what's going on. There's a forced proximity thing going on. There's the chosen thing kind of going on. There's nerdy girl, hot guy thing going. I mean, there's literally everything you could throw into a book. Like it's all there. There's a found family aspect of it. It's literally everything. So she crammed a lot in here, and it's also just really action-packed. Like, I will say, the book moves so quickly because there's always something going on. Okay, I'm gonna go read. I'm very excited. I got some filming and stuff to do today, but besides that, this is probably going to be a 2-day book because I started yesterday, and yeah, it's going very quickly. So I'm going to go. I will update you when I'm finished, or if I randomly start absolutely hating the book. It is first thing in the morning. I actually finished this book last night, but I may look a little bit funky. This is about as far back. Actually, it looks okay. This is about as far back I can put my head today because I threw my back out again. If you don't know, if you haven't been watching all my vlogs, etc., I have a bad back. I threw it out last year, my upper back. I threw it out last March. It's been over a year now. I've had MRIs, they've checked my back, they can't find anything wrong. I get tingling down my arms, and I was in physical therapy for 7 months before I had to go do some other physical therapy for some other things. I have a lot of medical problems. So they don't know exactly what it is. They think it's a muscle strain something. I don't know, but it gets re-aggravated. And so yesterday all I did was stand up while looking this way, and the whole thing pulled. And it pulls and you can tell like something's wrong, and I'm like, oh crap. So I have enough time to like scurry into my bedroom and lay down on my heating pad that I literally just keep in there. Like obviously I don't have it on when I'm not in there, but yeah, it's pretty much a permanent fixture to the bed now because I use it every night because it's the only thing I found that actually can relax the muscles enough. So this morning it's better. I am moving, I am up. I just can't do a lot. This is about as much as I can move, and that's as far as I can put my head back right now. So, cause it's like a spot like right here, and then it radiates out. So it's super fun. I have to laugh about it or I'll be really upset. So anyway, I finished Fourth Wing last night. It actually happened right like as I was finishing the book, which really sucks because I was upset and then the book upset me. Yeah, I finished the book, and let's answer the question. Is the book overhyped? No. I do think there are some problems with the book, but I'm giving it a 5-star. I loved it. I loved it. I do think some of the sex scenes were a little cringy, But I feel like that's pretty much how they are in all romance books, at least to me. So other people might have a better time with them, but I think they're a little bit cringy, especially with what was going on during them. It's very strange. We'll get to that in spoilers. Like I said, I'm giving this a 5-star. It had a lot of stuff I liked. It had a lot of stuff that I think could be improved upon, and I feel like that comes with writing more. But for like an intro to this series, this is a pretty good book. So the things that I liked, I loved the character development of pretty much everybody. I definitely, like I said in an earlier clip, had an issue with our main character, Violet, because she was a bit confusing. I didn't fully understand her character because I feel like she wanted this timid flower kind of person at the beginning, but she wanted to introduce that sex appeal early on. So I feel like it got a little bit confusing because she was very aggressive in some ways and not in others. And it didn't wholly work for me as a complete character at the beginning, but by the end, totally get it. Loved her character by the end. Think it made complete sense. So that kind of took away that little bit of an issue. I liked that it was not really a love triangle. So I'm not going to say obviously who it is, but she ends up with the person who you like know. You know. There's no way not to know who she ends up with. It's very obvious, especially following like recent trends of what people like in the romantic interest. So it definitely has, we're going to talk about in spoilers, it definitely has some, I already talked about it, but there's some ACOTAR feels to that type of romance thing going on, and that's not spoiling anything for this book because it's very obvious. Like there's no hint of other things going on. This is it. This is the person. I think at the very, very beginning, maybe a little confusing, but it quickly becomes apparent what the author is trying to do. That makes me happy because I don't love love triangles. But I am curious if like the romance is going to continue through the books. So I am glad that this at least has another book. I don't know if this is a duology or a trilogy, but I do not think it needs to be a trilogy. I think this will be perfectly fine with one second chunky book like this was, because this is 495 pages, almost 500 pages. One more 500-page book, perfect. Doesn't need to be any longer than that because then you just start dragging some stuff out and it's unnecessary. So I think this book had a fully developed, wrapped story that had a great cliffhanger that left into the second book. So I think that was fantastic. It has me like foaming at the mouth for the second book, which I saw is coming out in November. They just released like the name of it. It's like something Iron, or what is this one called? Fourth Wing? This is Iron Flame, potentially? I don't remember, but it's Iron something. But they have not released the cover, but it looks like there are going to be sprayed edges. So right now they just have like a basic cover that has the title on it, nothing fancy, and then they have like blanked out sprayed edges. So could be sprayed edges. I forgot I was supposed to be like holding this the whole time. Early during the beginning of it. I'm so like off this morning. So anyway, I liked how the book ended. I liked what they did. I liked that there was an emotional stake in this book. I definitely have read some books recently that I feel like I wasn't worried about the characters, but I was a little concerned for the safety of the characters that I loved. So I enjoyed that. There was a bit of tension in there. I was thinking like, oh my gosh, are we gonna lose someone I really, really like? So at the same time as not loving that, you gotta have it in this kind of book because like it doesn't mean anything. The brutality in this book does not mean anything if there's not some sort of, oh yeah, we could actually lose people. And I feel like this book did a really good job of like opening up and being like, you better watch your loved ones, because the opening was like, oh man, that was intense. It's action-packed from beginning to end. There's constantly something going on. This felt like the side characters were very important. I loved that. I loved a lot of the side characters. I feel like there was really only 2 or 3 that we really, really got to know. There was like a whole group of them, but we didn't really get to explore more relationships between the others. I hope in the second book we actually get to see more of the relationships and get like stronger bonds with them. Because I guess that was my one little qualm, is I wish there was a better like friend group that was more prominent. I also loved the atmosphere. I mean, the dragon school is brutality. I love it. I love what they did with the dragons and how just like nasty they are. It makes a lot of sense. Like I always feel like in these, well, okay, because I feel like there's 2 different ways you could do dragons. Like one of the books that I just read, the dragons are benevolent, they are wisdom, they are kindness, and they are non-violent. In Fourth Wing, they are brutality. And then, like I was saying, I got distracted. The War College is so cool. It's so cool. I feel like it was described pretty well. I really enjoyed that. Like the games, the competitions in it, just so good. It was so much fun. Okay, unfortunately, I was using my computer to power my light and my computer just lost power. So, and I have like no plugs. This room is designed super weird where there's like no outlets anywhere. So it's not gonna happen. Like I said, this was super well planned this morning. I did not plan for anything last night because I could not move. So anyway, I just loved so much about it. It was just so much fun, fast paced. The dialogue was really good. I feel like the connections between the characters are really good. Just China was just really good. It was really good. It was very compelling. I couldn't put it down. It's been a while since I like picked up a book and did not want to put it down. And I did not want to put this book down. Things that I didn't love, there's really not that many. Because I loved all the twists. I liked where everything went. I feel like if I have to choose something I would change, it would be the characterization of Violet at the beginning. Like, I like that she was outspoken for her friendships and she helped people, etc. But like the overtly sexual stuff at the beginning, it just didn't work for me. Like, I feel like it more has to do with it went in too hard, too fast. So I think that just needed to be like tailored back a little bit. I also don't think we needed her almost dying, already thinking about how hot people are. Don't need that. That's, again, it's like I don't believe that kind of stuff that's happening in her head. She's not thinking about that as she's actively almost dying, okay? That's not how that works. I just would have rathered she focused on the task at hand and be like, oh, he looks this way, this way, this way, this way. Like what you would actually think about when you like meet somebody, and not just like, oh my God, he's so hot and I'm about to go die doing this thing. I don't need that. That doesn't work for me. Honestly, that's pretty much all I can think about. I cannot think about anything else. I have to recommend this. I would say this is pretty much for anybody who likes fantasy. Like, even if you don't like sex scenes, because I don't, you can skip over them. They're not they don't permeate every aspect of the book. There definitely is like some like, oh, he's really hot moments, etc. But just cringe through them and read the rest of the book, because the rest of the book and the plot is so worth it. And honestly, I really love our main character. Oh, that was the other thing that I liked. Violet. She is a chronic pain rep. They don't really go into it that much, but they make allusions to like her literally not being able to build up strength to do things, and her having lived with pain her whole life. So I did like that because I deal with chronic pain. I've been dealing with chronic pain since I was 12 and it sucks. It really sucks. And sometimes it's really, really hard to read. And because I can't read, so like if it's focused around that, I have a really hard time. But this does it in a subtle way that it's there and the rep is there, but I'm not having to like put the book down to like deal with my own emotions with it. It was just good, solid, very slight rep that I could feel throughout the story, but it wasn't putting me in a mental spiral. So that's in there. Yeah, now that's pretty much everything I have to say that's not spoilers. It's worth the hype. It really is. I thought I was gonna come in here and say it's not worth it. It's poorly written. The romance is over the top. I mean, it was a little bit over the top, but it was fun. Do I think it's a great book? No. I read plenty of books that are significantly better than this, that are better written, better planned out, but it's just hella fun. Like, it is so much fun to read that I would say go ahead and read it, because it really is so much fun. And it's, again, not a masterpiece, but it is not a book to sleep on either. Okay, so that's everything. This book is sidetracking me because like I said, I read the last little bit in pain, so I'm like trying to organize my thoughts and my hand's starting to go numb. So anyway, if you want to watch spoilers, continue on in the video. I gotta put this down. I can't hold this anymore. If you don't want to watch spoilers, click away now. Thank you for coming. I enjoyed you guys watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you pick it up. Hope you enjoy reading it. Come back and watch spoilers and let me know what you thought about the book. Okay, we're going to spoilers, so if you don't want to see them, this is your last warning, because we are going into a full spoiler plot recovery right now, because there's a lot to talk about in this book. And I thought this video was going to be a lot shorter than it was, but it's not. We're still going, so click off now if you don't want spoilers. Okay, let's start at the very beginning. It's really funny because I sat down after I saw the vote I sat down last night and I started writing notes because I was already at like page 350 and I was like, I'm not gonna remember everything that happened in this book when I do my video. So I need to write down some of the plot in it. My writing of the plot starts off super detailed and then it just starts getting more and more unhinged as we go through the story. At one point I just wrote lightning in all capital letters. So I was going through the notes last night because I also had to stop writing the notes because I couldn't like hold a pen. So we're gonna have to go off memory for the end of it. But I think that was with only like 50 pages left. So there's only really like the big battle at the end and the death at the end and the big reveal at the very, very end, which I accidentally spoiled for myself. I was trying to like, ow. I was trying to look up, that was unpleasant. I tried to look up page count like an idiot. And I saw the last line of the last page and I was like, that would have been such a good reveal. I was so mad that I ruined that for myself. And it happens all the time. Every time I do it, I'm like, oh, stop looking at the page count. And then I do it again. So I can't be stopped. I can't be stopped. Okay, let's talk about the book. We're going to quickly go through what I think are kind of like my plot highlights and what's going on. Because some people I know are going to watch this. Someone even commented about it. They want to know the full story without actually reading the book. So here you go. We're going to get into it. I'm going to omit some stuff, obviously, or we'll be here for however long an audiobook is. So first of all, we're starting off with our main character, Violet. Love her. And we meet her mom, who turns out to be like this big general fancy important person. Her mom's a writer. You find out there's writers in this world and there are conscriptions for the military. And so if you're conscripted, you can go into different quadrants. And originally Violet was supposed to be a scribe, I believe like her father. Did they say the father was a scribe? I'm pretty sure he's a scribe. Father passed away many years ago. So mom has basically taken over telling Violet what to do, and she decides that Violet's going to be a writer. She's going to be in the dragon rider quadrant, which is basically a death sentence for her. So Violet has two siblings, Mira and Brandon. Brandon? See, I should have taken notes better. Brennan has passed away. He was a super powerful mender rider as well. So Mom wants the legacy of the riders and the family to continue because they are the Sorengales. They are dragon riders. Violet, not prepared. She only started training 6 months ago, so it is literally a death sentence. She also has some form of, like I said, chronic pain where she is constantly in pain. She's weaker. She has a really hard time training, etc. So Mira is kind of our introduction into the book, the sister. She takes Violet to the like where they take in the new people, and it's called the parapet. And Mira basically takes Violet's pack, repacks it for her, gives her stuff she needs, give her a scale leather vest that she created by collecting her dragon's old scales that fell off, and she gives her boots that will be able to like grip better during the competition. So Violet makes it up there. We say goodbye to Mira, which is really sad, and Violet pretty much is like, I'm dead. I'm going to die. And Mira had warned her two things: go find Dane, and God, I need to stop moving my neck so much, and avoid Xaden. I feel like that's how you say his name. I did not look up how to pronounce anyone's name. So if you listen to the audiobook and it's totally different, let me know, because that would be nice to know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. And then I'll proceed probably to continue pronouncing it wrong. So it says to avoid Xaden. Of course, the first person that she sees up there is basically Xaden. He is a I don't know what they call them. He's a rebel, whatever. So apparently there was a big rebellion, and Xaden is the oldest kid from that rebellion. His father was killed. All the rebellion children are marked, and they're forced to go to the Riders Quadrant. So Xaden is there. He's I think he's a third year, has already passed all his tests. He's helping bring the newbies in, and he immediately spots her and is like, "Rrr, rrr." So already knows it's bad deal. She knows he's going to try to kill her. It's not great. So this is where we also meet Rhiannon, who I love. New bestie. And Violet decides to help her by switching one of their boots because she sees that Rhiannon's wearing slick boots that she was wearing before, and she gives Rhiannon the other boot. It's also raining and wind, and it turns out that they have to climb this like parapet thing, and there's a huge number of people that die. So this is kind of the first challenge to weed out the immediate weaklings. So we meet Rhiannon and we meet Dylan, and Dylan has a ring. He's gonna propose when they get out of rider school, and he's super excited, super jazzed. And Dylan dies. Dylan falls off, and I was like, oh my gosh, because like we just got to know him. We just got to know him, and he's gone. He's like disappeared, gone. So the person behind Violet also wants to make Violet disappear, Jack. Jack is a psychopath. That was a thing I didn't understand that much, was like why he hates her so much. He said it's because she's weak, but it's like you feel really strongly about that. So Jack throws somebody else off the parapet and starts chasing after Violet as they get up there. Violet makes it, holds a dagger to him, and he's pissed, but he can't kill her because they're on like solid ground. There's rules. You can't kill people in certain areas of the school, or like if they're asleep, etc. But otherwise, it's free game. They don't like it, but it's free game. Oh, Jack says he's gonna kill her eventually. Duh, she has to have like another enemy compared to Xaden, but obviously Xaden's not really her enemy, let's be real. Once she survives the parapet and we go in, we finally meet Dane. Dane, who obviously is pining for Violet, in love with her. They were besties as children. He is trying to smuggle her into the Scribes Quadrant where she's supposed to be. He's freaking out. And she's like, dude, like chill. Like, I know I'm gonna die, but like chill, it's okay. But she turns it down because her mom's just gonna drag her back. Dane's trying to figure out a way to get her down there, and it says you cannot tell anybody that you know me because preferential treatment, etc. People are gonna talk, blah 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 blah, which he immediately forgets. Like, he is like so obvious about the way he feels about her, it's painful. Luckily for our main character Violet, Mira, her sister, is a genius and is able to sneak in their brother's like manual. So their brother went through riding school way before they did and wrote Mira a journal, like the do's and don'ts and like tricks and sneak peeks. And I love it because at the top of every chapter is like a little excerpt, and some of them are from Brennan's journal, and they're so good. I love what he says about stuff. It's just, I love that. I absolutely love that. So Violet gets emotional and is able to use Brennan's tips and tricks to kind of survive, because she ends up starting to poison her challengers. So they have to fight on the mat to like gain strength, etc. But you're allowed to kill people on the mat. They don't like it. You're allowed to do it though. So she knows she's not going to win anything. She's got to practice. Rhiannon starts giving her lessons, but because she's having issues, she decides to use the location that Brennan tells her where, because they like pre-post the matches and Brennan knows where they are, tells Violet where they are like through the book, and she goes and she learns who her matches are, takes breakfast duty, and starts poisoning people, and it's hilarious. I'm like, that is so smart. That is so smart. It's a little obvious, but it's genius. And then of course she messes up a little bit and she ends up fighting Xaden, which is pretty hot actually. That worked for me because like they don't seem that into each other, and yeah, that was a really good scene. So there's a lot of that going on. Like I said, some of this may be out of order because I took notes late. While she's out collecting like berries, etc. See, the berries might have been, I think, yeah, okay. Where she sees the meeting, I think, happens before the poisoning, yeah, because she's collecting stuff, or she's in the middle of it collecting stuff. But before, like, her match with Xaden, she was out collecting things, and she sees all the rebels are meeting together, and that is not allowed. 3 or more cannot be together, etc., but it's all of them. And she listens in, and they really are only just talking about how to help each other survive, because a lot of the kids that aren't rebels are out to get them. So Xaden's the leader of this because he's the eldest, and he's kind of telling people how to survive. He's going to help train them. He's doing like a buddy system almost kind of thing. And he knows she's there though, because it turns out he controls Shadow, Reese from Akatar, cough cough. So obvious. This is so obvious. And she's like, I'm not going to tell, like, you really didn't do anything. And he's like, okay. And for some reason leaves her alive, which baffles all of us. Because if he wants to kill you that bad, he would definitely kill you there. So anyway, back to matches, etc. We're doing that. Dane is starting to get on everybody's nerves because he will not stop saying, you can't do this. And she's like, well, actually, like, I can. I'm actually, like, not doing that bad. So, like, leave me alone. Like, I'm doing really great. And we get to the point where they're at gauntlet day. I know I skipped a bunch of stuff, but it's really just a bunch of challenge mats, etc., and her poisoning a bunch of people, and Dane being annoying, and Xaden brooding in the corner. So we get to the gauntlet, which is a really cool challenge and absolutely terrifying. Think Ninja Warrior, but if you fall, you die. But there are ropes throughout the course that you can grab onto to help you up because it is like really, really difficult. So she can't do a portion of it. She's too short. She's having issues. So Xaden kind of says, you don't have to get up like the right way. You just have to get up. And so we go through the gauntlet. It's really cool. And she manages to like kind of cheat the system, but she uses the codex because she was trained as a scribe her whole life. So she knows the codex, the rules super, super well. This other girl who's friends with Dane is super pissed off because she thinks she cheated, but she says, hey, I had this on my person the whole time, and technically according to the codex, everything I brought with me, I have on me, becomes my person. So I brought my person with me, which includes the dagger. And Xaden's like, yep, she's good. She's good, which pisses off the girl. And it pisses off Dane because Dane can't step in. Dane is all about rules. Dane would cut his own arm off if the codex said to. God, he pisses me off. So then we finally get through the walkthrough, which was really cool. We finally get to see the dragons up close, and they are doing this walkthrough thing where the dragons get to kind of sniff them out, and they incinerate anyone they don't like. So they incinerate two people who were a pain in the butt up to this point. I was so happy that they were gone. I did feel bad for one kid. One kid was really just indecisive, and the dragons are like, nope. So that was really fun. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Xaden has like the coolest, strongest dragon. He has like the only blue dragon. She is really cool. So after that happens, they kind of fast forward through some more training, etc., and then we get to threshing. Threshing is where the dragons pick their riders, and it's very important because you're supposed to feel like this connection. Don't approach any dragons that obviously don't want you around because they will incinerate you, which happens a lot. And then if you don't match with the dragon, if you survive, then you're an unbonded and you go back through your first year again with the new first years, which is brutal. Like, that would suck. So anyway, Violet, she's not really feeling a connection with anybody, any of the dragons. And then she, of course, overhears Jack and his little buddies, who also hate her, are planning to kill the Featherling? We're just gonna say Featherling for now because I cannot for the life of me remember if it's like Featherling or something like that. So anyway, the little one, the golden one, I forgot to say that while they were walking through like the thing where all the dragons looked at them, they saw the Featherling, which they don't bond because they are non-violent, etc. And they're like supposedly scholars. And a lot of the students were making fun of the little dragon, which is a mistake. Like, why would you think that's a good idea? Like, are you dumb? Like, are you actually dumb? So anyway, back to threshing. Violet overhears Jack talking about how they're gonna go kill it to put it out of its misery because, again, are you stupid? Like, are you actually stupid? It's clear that the dragons kind of protect each other, so like, why would you do that? The answer is yes, but like, that's like a new level of dumb. So anyway, she knows where the little Featherling is, so she runs off towards it and starts yelling at it to get out of here. Go! And the dragon's like, I don't really want to. So of course, Jack and them come into the clearing, and they're like, oh, we gotta kill two of you. And Violet's like, shit, shit. So she's gonna have to fight three, and she's going to. She puts herself between them and pulls her daggers out and is ready to fight to the death to save the little dragon. And of course, Xaden shows up. Xaden can't do anything though because the wing leaders and the squad leaders, they can't do anything, which is why Dane was trying to get her out before threshing because he was like, you're gonna die. But Xaden's like, you can do it. You can do it. But you can tell he's really tense. He's not liking it. And he definitely is like directing her like, hey, watch out over there. And the guys are getting pissed off. And you can tell Xaden's dragon is hella pissed off. So she ends up almost dying. Xaden 100% was about to step in. 100% was gonna break the rules and save her ass. But instead, luckily, he didn't have to step in because Tairn shows up. The cool dragon. The black dragon that refuses to bond and had a dragon rider die and couldn't deal with that again. He shows up, saves the day, incinerates one of them, I think. And it turns out the little Featherling and Tairn are like BFFs. So Tairn chooses her as his rider, which is super funny because he's like, can you get on my back? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, you're so embarrassing. So we fly, Xaden and his dragon leave. I'm not even gonna try and say his dragon's name. Scale? Scale? It's like SG, and that's where I lose all idea of how to say it. So they fly off, and Taryn gets Violet on his back. She cannot keep her seat. She keeps falling out, but he keeps her like sucked in there so she won't embarrass him. I love that he's just like, I'm so embarrassed by you. And the little dragon comes with them. We get to the field, everyone's landing, we find out who survived, etc. Luckily Rhiannon's still there, which is really exciting. And we get to like the roll call where she goes up and tells the roll person the name of her dragon. So she says the name of Taryn, and then in her head, and her name is hard to say too, Andarna, the little golden dragon, says, say my name too, and pandemonium breaks out because no one has ever had two dragons. Love it. Love it. I loved that part, and it made sense. I feel like the chosen one thing can get a little bit old, but it made total sense that because she was protecting the little one, that both would bond to her. So we find out that Xaden's kind of pissed off. Not really. He's just pissed off because he has all the feelings that his dragon and Taryn are mated, and they cannot be separated, it seems, for more than 3 days. So now Xaden and Violet are bonded basically too, because if Xaden dies, Scale most likely will die. If Scale dies, Taryn will 100% die. If Taryn dies, Violet dies. So, and then it goes the opposite way too. So they get to move into their own rooms. She's still wearing her scale mail, thank goodness, because she gets attacked in the middle of the night, which is something that Xaden was worried about, because most powerful dragon, all the unbonded dragon riders that came back want her dragon. So if they kill her soon enough, it will not kill Taryn, because right now they're at like their weakest bonded point. It won't kill Taryn, and someone else could take over, but they don't realize Taryn literally just wants her as his rider, so they're being dumb and it's useless anyway. He's not gonna bond with anybody else. She's about to die, and Darna and her, oh yeah, the dragons talk to each other. Like you can talk to them through their heads. So she's talking about Taryn and Andarna. And when she's about to die, Andarna screams, mine, and Violet feels this power come through her, and it freezes the entire room. So it turns out Andarna's power at this point is freezing time, which is really cool. So she slips out just as Xaden is walking in. It turns out that Taryn told Scale, and Scale told Xaden that she was under attack, so Xaden runs and kills every single person in that room. I mean, it was brutal, and I loved it because, oh my gosh, if that one person kept surviving, because it was one of the guys who attacked her in the clearing that orchestrated part of this, if he had survived, I would have been so pissed off. So Xaden kills all of them in a rage, super pissed off, and it was like, I love him. I love him. This is the problem with fantasy readers. We are messed up. We are a messed up group of people. So then we found out from Violet that there was one more person there that ran out when she woke up, and it turns out it was a squadron leader, or I think it's whatever she is, squad leader? I don't remember what she was, but it's one of Dane's friends, and Xaden decides to do this publicly. He goes in front of the entire group of people and says, she did this, she tried to kill Violet. He immediately trusted her. He didn't ask to he didn't say that she was a liar, etc. He just trusted Violet at face value. Dane, on the other hand, is like, you're lying. Tell them he's lying. Tell everyone that Xaden's lying so that she can go. And Violet's like, no. And so she has Taryn give everybody the memory, because Dane was trying to get the memory from her. Dane is a mind sifter or whatever. I don't know what they call them, but he can read people's memories if he touches them. Everyone sees what she did. She's executed, even though Violet didn't want that. She begged for mercy, mostly because on behalf of her dragon, which was really sad. The dragon was like heartbroken. That was really, really sad. And at that point, Violet gains a bodyguard, Liam. Liam may be one of my favorite characters in this book, which is really upsetting. It's really upsetting because yeah, you know, we'll get to that. So Liam just follows her around. He's super adorable. He likes to whittle little figurines from wood. So she's like, he leaves wood shavings everywhere he goes. And Xaden's nowhere to be found. He is MIA, being a pain in the butt. At some point in this, they make out. I keep forgetting that happened because it was like, I feel like it wasn't like a highlight of the book, but there was some emotion things going on, and she runs out to get away from almost hitting on Liam and runs into Xaden, and they make out. Xaden freaks out, shoves her away, and says, you don't actually want this. and they walk away. I don't remember like what order that was in. So then finally we get to the point that this has been accumulating to, and Violet has to fight Jack. Violet knew she was gonna fight Jack, held it to secret from Xaden because Xaden wasn't gonna be there, but tells Liam, yeah, you can go find him. So Liam runs off to go find Xaden while Violet prepares to fight Jack, and Jack definitely almost kills her, but she's able to shove orange into his mouth and cause him to have an allergic reaction. Which she definitely would have won. The thing is, she would have won if he didn't play dirty, because it was supposed to be a fair fight, and he was using his magic, he was doing all this stuff. And at this point, Violet hasn't started channeling. Channeling is when the dragons give their magic over to the rider when they're ready, and then they develop their signet, which is their power. So at this point, she still doesn't have any power, and she's, or I guess she might have been channeling at this point, but she doesn't have her signet yet, so she can't use anything. Oh, and I forgot. We find out that Andarna is actually a baby dragon. Featherlings, why they're not seen ever and they don't fight and they don't bond, is because they're babies. They turn into other dragons. So she's gonna look totally different in like a year. She's gonna be an adult. So that was like a big like, oh my gosh. So the only people that know are her and Xaden and obviously the dragons, and they're keeping that a huge, huge secret. Okay, so after, this is such a long recap. So after Violet ends up fighting Jack and wins, Xaden, of course, takes over her bodyguard roles. So he decides to start training her on top of all the training she's getting elsewhere. And there's just a lot of really fun scenes. There's a lot of really, really fun scenes here. And they're just training, talking. She's trying to get up to know him more. They're doing flying lessons together. It's just a big montage where you're starting to develop feelings together. So that's kind of like just a really important big section of this book, is there's not a lot going on, but it's mostly their relationship building and you getting invested in what's going on between them. So then we go into the squad games, and it's like the series of challenges, and you don't really see that much of it except for the end when they have to steal something that would be important to their enemies, and Violet figures out that she wants to steal the map in her mother's office. So they steal that win, and their reward is actually getting to go to like an outpost and seeing how it works and strategy, etc. And Mira's there. So Violet gets to see her sister, and her sister helps walk the team through all these different like scenarios, which is really cool because it's going to help with war games, which is like the end of the year big deal war games. Unfortunately, during this day, they are attacked by griffins, and Xaden has to protect Violet and basically sends Violet away, follows after her, and Violet's really pissed at him because she didn't want to leave Mira, but Mira survives, so everything's okay. And then we have, again, more relationship building, etc., and we are going into war games. So war games is pretty cool, but they're doing like a capture the flag kind of thing, and her team is on offense, and they are going to go get this crystal egg from the other team, and of course it's Jack's team. So Jack attacks Liam, almost kills Liam, but she's able to use some of Andarna's power to stop time, save Liam, and then she gets so pissed off that she strikes him with lightning and obliterates him. So Jack dies, which was great. I was so happy when he died. And lightning's pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting some like super over the top thing, but apparently in this world lightning is super over the top. So I'm very interested to see how it's further used like later in the story, because it was used pretty well during like the final fight, but I was still like a little like, oh, lightning. I wasn't expecting that to be that big of a deal, because I feel like in other fantasy books it's not. So I don't know, that was interesting. So anyway, develops lightning, and she has to now practice how to control it, etc. And this is where I think her sexual relationship begins with Xaden, because they blow out a whole room because the lightning, and he loses control of his shadows, and I was just like, this is a lot. This is a lot, but I can see why the girlie's like this. And then there's, yeah, the relationship's just building again at this point. Violet is in love with him, and there's emotions and things happening. And then there's apparently an invasion, but it's just kidding. It's actually another war game. In the final war game, they're going to send units to like different posts, and you have to defend the posts, etc. So this is where I stopped taking notes. This may become even more unhinged. So Xaden pulls Violet aside, and it's very clear something is kind of off with him. He seems very uncomfortable, but he's like, you're coming with me. You're coming with me. You're coming with Scale. And Dane flips out, suddenly realizes they're in a relationship, and he's like, fine. He's gonna get you killed. And he like says goodbye, I think gives her a kiss on the head or something like that, and he leaves. And so Violet goes with Xaden and his little group, and when they come into this clearing, it's a little bit odd because she realizes they're all rebels. They're all tattooed with the rebel insignia, and Xaden's trying to explain to her something going on, and then a griffin lands. And so she's freaking out. Taryn is like not freaking out, which is freaking her out more. No one's freaking out except for her. And it turns out that Xaden and his little rebel group have been working with the griffins this whole time, and it's really not that much of a surprise. I feel like that was very obvious that was going to happen, but it was still like fun to watch. It turns out that this fable book that she got from her dad, and her dad had been trying to warn her this whole time, there are evil monsters called venin, and they're like, I don't know exactly what they are, but it's like people who have burnt out of magic or something like that, or the power has consumed them, but they're these crazy powerful things. Even 2 of them can destroy a whole village. The only thing that can kill venin are these like specially made, this material, and they turn them into daggers. And that's why the griffins have been raiding all these outposts, because the outposts have the material to kill the venin. But Violet's mom is hiding this from the rest of the kingdom, and they're not protecting the outside kingdoms outside of the wards, which is why the griffins are pissed, because the griffin fleets are protecting everybody that they can. So that's why Xaden's dad was killed and the rebels were killed, because they were trying to basically tell everybody that this is what's going on, and the kingdom did not want everybody to know. So sucks, really sucks. Violet obviously feels super betrayed, but she still decides, because she wants to save people, that she's going to help protect the whole kingdom, not just hers. And they realized that this was a whole trap. She actually wasn't supposed to be with them. It turns out that Dane read her thoughts, because Xaden had given her a hint of what he was doing in his free time, and Dane was able to read all the stuff that had been going on between him and her and Xaden, and gave his dad, who was a colonel, the information, and the colonel sent Xaden and his little rebels into an impossible situation where either you protect a city outside of the wards from the venin, or you go to your next post and show your loyalty to the true kingdom. Yeah, we decided to save people because that's the only right choice, like seriously. But they're pretty much all gonna die because the venin are crazy powerful. And of course Violet's like, well, what about the wyverns? That's in my fable tales. And Xaden's like, we haven't seen any of those, so let's not manifest it. But of course that manifests them. So they get in this huge fight with all these venin and with all these wyverns, and it is insane. It was so much fun. And then Liam dies, and it was the worst thing ever, because Liam's dragon, oh, that was so sad. Liam's dragon ends up getting eviscerated by a wyvern, and because the dragon died, Liam dies with the dragon, and it was devastating. I was sobbing my freaking eyes out, because Liam was probably one of my favorite characters. He was one of the most developed besides our like main characters. So upset, so upset. But it does add this level of stakes to the book that I do appreciate, because everything feels precious at that point. That was an awful death. That was so horrible. So we find out that Violet's lightning can actually kill the venin, but she can't aim for shit. But she finally uses Andarna's time travel power on top of the lightning and Taryn's power, and is able to strike who they think is like the main leader, and that kills all the wyvern, because they're the opposite. Their powers actually create the wyvern. So when you kill the rider, it actually kills the wyvern. So this one like powerful one had created like half of them, and then while she's falling and basically dying because she gets stabbed by something, Xaden is able to kill the last rider, and it kills the rest of the wyverns, and they're able to kind of save the rest of everybody. We still, with major losses, we lost a couple people. Overall, it was considered like a victory. And then we hear Xaden trying to get her to wake up, but she's been poisoned by something which paralyzes her whole body. It feels like fire's going through her. And then he decides to take her somewhere that the other rebels are like, are you sure? And he's like, I'm not letting her die. I'd rather die than her die. And so we switch to Xaden's point of view for the end of the book. And we see her unconscious. He's freaking out, really worried. We're in some sort of base. It turns out he's like rebuilding this old base. And the very end of the book, when Violet wakes up, she turns out she was mended. And the person who mended her was her brother Brennan, which is the part that I ruined for myself. And I was so happy though. I loved that. I thought that was so good. I think every twist was pretty obvious. I actually did not expect Brennan to live, because I feel like we were getting a lot of his personality through like the excerpts, so I really thought he was gone. So I was really surprised that he survived, which was really awesome. It's really not that surprising. I feel like that's pretty normal in fantasy books, and they're gonna have to turn Mira over to their side too. They didn't talk about Mira. This was a lot of fun. That was the basic recap of the entire book. Can't believe Liam died. So upset, but it made sense. It made sense, very upsetting, but it made sense. And it kind of gave you an idea of, yeah, if a dragon dies, the rider will die. So you kind of saw it firsthand for the first time in the book instead of just being told. Loved how they did the romance. I really do really like Xaden, but it's Akamath. It's basically, you skipped ACOTAR because she didn't want to deal with a relationship between Dane and Violet, and you skipped right to Akamath where Violet's learning to trust Xaden and get into a relationship with Xaden, etc. It's so obvious, and like, Dane acts so much like Tamlin that I was like, I need to punch you in the throat. I need to punch you in the throat immediately because you're annoying me. So yeah, that was a spoiler-filled recap. I know it took a really long time to do that, but we went through a whole 500-page book, okay? We went through a whole 500-page book. Still don't know how I feel exactly about the lightning. I like that Violet is basically pissed off at Xaden at the end, so we're gonna have some tension going into the second book. He's gonna have to win her over. He's gonna have to like actually try really hard to get her back on his side, and for her to like fully trust him again. So I feel like that's a really good way to go into the next book. And we're gonna have a bunch of stuff with Brennan, and we're gonna have to obviously get Mira over to their side. So there's just gonna be a lot going on. We're gonna have to figure out a better way to kill the Venom. And it's just, yeah, there's a lot going on that the second book is gonna have to pick up on. So I'm really excited to read the second book. I'm so excited that it's actually coming out this year. I was very worried I was gonna have to wait a really long time to read it, but November's really not that far away. So that's really exciting. And yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to read it. It was so worth the hype. It was like, even me going through it a second time, like just now with you guys, yeah, I loved it. It was so good. I'm definitely gonna keep this as this is definitely gonna be a reread. There's definitely parts of this I'm so gonna reread. So anyway, that was a full spoiler recap. Make sure you comment down below what you thought about the book, why you liked it, why you didn't like it. I would love to know why you didn't like it, because like I said, I like hearing what other people think and like the differing opinions, but I also like people when they agree with me too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe for more content and more book reviews and more of these Are They Overhyped? I really thought this was going to be overhyped, but it wasn't, which is really, really exciting. And that's all I got for you today, so I will see you guys in the next video.